And the best thing to do is to start with directly teaching them how to use the WC, or the toilet, for their big job and small job, as we call it. Okay. Also, very very important to get the right potty seat, which your child can sit in comfortably and can build an association from the beginning itself. All right. Now let's talk about this method of elimination communication and what it is, because a lot of times people tend to ask, when is the right time to start? Okay. There is no right time. You can start at birth. Okay. A lot of times your japas you would be seeing, or your nannies you would be seeing, would be taking your little ones and probably using the wash basin or the WC. That is again a good time where you hold the baby, because this helps build a practice to use in our everyday lives. Or the best age to start is when your babies are able to sit unassisted, or with minimal support. So you can just simply place your little ones on the WC by holding them, or they can sit unassisted. This is, again, this is not a compulsion, but it's good to start. Now, if you look at it globally, they say don't start before 18-20 months. It can overwhelm your child. That's because there they are completely building the association, where it's like, they put in those 15-16 days and they're like done. You have to sit on it and you have to do it there. You can't do it anywhere else. Whereas here, it is very important that you start elimination communication and gradually progress to completely adapting it. It is, also very silly and very funny incident that I used to notice in my little one when she would pee, was she would, her nose would give her like a typical, like her nose face would change. Like she would just go like grunting or making like a big wide nose suddenly, which was a sign for me that she wants to pee, and she would pee then, so that was a signal for me. So every time, I could notice that before she started peeing, I would just pick her up and take her to the WC. Okay. That is one way of doing it, wherein you notice your baby's signs. Or the other way of doing it is you put in and you set times. So like on waking up, before you go to bed, or in between or before meals, is when you make them sit and get them associated to the WC or the toilet. Okay. Now, it is basically, of course, a lot to do when you're ready, but when they are older, okay, they start giving certain signs. Okay. Now, when I say certain signs, it could be they could just go sort of in one corner and sit down and pee or poop, or they could just, be, standing still behind a curtain because they don't know what it is, right? So they would just sort of, stand in one corner and finish their job and come out, and then they'll possibly, you'll realize that okay, there's pee or poo. So that is another time that you can start. There's no right or wrong time. Okay. And there is no such thing that you have to start at 6 months and you have to wean them off by 3 years. It's not that way. You can take your time, especially with twins. I understand it has to be a process for two kids together. So go gradual, but start together, because sometimes looking at one another also they learn. All right. What are the advantages of elimination communication? It basically helps you save cost, which is a lot of cost, especially for diapers and for twins. It also helps your child to stay clean and dry, and also, ensure that the hygiene levels are maintained. It is also basically good to sort of start responding to your child when they have these, pee and poop times, because that helps strengthen their bond with you as well. As silly as it may sound, but when we start the process, we only look at, okay, are they doing it in the pee and, in the pot? But it is also important to create that bond, because a lot of times if this goes wrong, then what happens is they start developing fear of the restroom, which is something through elimination communication I recommend that you go slow and easy and build the association. Right? Moving to the disadvantages, like I said, it takes time to pay attention to the cues. It can become overwhelming, and the logistics, because you have to sort of spend at least 2 weeks to get them to get associated and understand the process. Now, while I say 2 weeks, I understand not all of us could be able to do it as the primary caregivers, but get people on board to help you, whether it's your caregivers or your family. You can get them to help you in this whole process of elimination communication. Moving to the areas of readiness, like I said, they are able to sit independently, they are able to squat without losing balance, dress or undress themselves. Like, you'll see 9 months old, you'll probably see them, they are just pulling out the diapers, or, they are just trying to just, sit down and see how you're doing it, or they sit down and play quietly for 5 minutes when they are in the process of doing a particular job. But that these are like simple things and ways of understanding. So whether they can squat without losing balance, are they able to dress or undress themselves with limited help, they demonstrate and imitate behaviors. And this really works well, because I tell parents, like, make a big deal, especially when you're potty training your children, make a big deal and say that, oh my god, I want to use the restroom and this is where I go. And there's no shame, don't shy away from taking your children with you in the washroom. They're too small to understand. Of course, we have to look at, overall body positivity as well, and teach them about, good touch and bad touch, everything. But make sure that if they see you and you imitate, and you demonstrate it to them, they actually start imitating that behavior. And that's exactly something what Ruchika mentioned as well when we were speaking about this, that how her son got easily tuned to accepting it because he saw how it's done for his dad, right? There are words and signs that you can show your little one, but I always recommend talking about it in the, like if you say potty, then it's potty. You don't have to give it another name. If you have to say susu or pee, you have to use those words. Do not use, baby language, because that is not going to be of any good to you or to them. And then again, they sort of take time to then change it to the actual word. So talk to them like they're mini adults. Okay. You can also, other signs include, awareness of what the toilet is, awareness of, what is the consistent bowel movement like, because that's slightly for older kids. But then if you give them the exposure at 20 months, you will see that they are able to communicate what they want to do. All right. And of course, if you see that the diapers are drier for longer, especially after a year or 18 months, then those are your signs of readiness as well. Moving to the guidelines, like I mentioned, you have to be consistent. Allow the child to watch the family members. Do not rush through the whole process, because that is going to add no good. Okay, keep it as a positive experience. So even if your child is, not wanting to sit on the pot, don't just drag them into it. Slowly and gradually, sort of get them comfortable. Make them sit. Give them a bowl of water to play with. Get a book that you can read to them on potty training. Get them, a toy which they can associate with. These are things which will sort of help them understand. Okay. Instead of us asking them, do you want to use the washroom, you say it is time to use the washroom. This comes in only when you know the timings, or when you know that, okay, as soon as they wake up, you have to take them to the washroom. Okay. For older kids, once they start sort of walking as well, ensure that you're letting them do things by themselves. So whether it's about washing hands, or just flushing, or pulling up their clothes, or making themselves sit on the pot, let them do that and encourage that. Always use hygiene as the primary sort of whole concept while you're doing potty training as well, because you don't want a situation where they're not washing themselves up, or they're not washing their hands. So build that since the beginning itself, that every time they use the restroom, they have to wash their hands as well, right? Again, while you can figure out timings by seeing signs, these are some ideal times. One is before going to bed, then once they wake up in the morning, then before and after a shower, and according to their observed schedules. Another funny thing that a lot of parents come back to me is like, when the child is eating, they want to go to the restroom. So if you notice that as well happening, then you can proactively, before or after a meal, take them to the washroom so that the meal flow doesn't get disrupted. All right. Moving to the common problems that you may face. Okay, there is resistance at times that happens because we are constantly wanting them to sit down, sit down, sit down, go to the washroom, go do this, go do that. Don't force them, don't punish them. If your child in the initial 2-3 days itself is not showing any interest, hold on, because understand it's a big sort of a milestone for them, right? And see, it's a very simple thing. When they poop or pee in the pot, there is a sound that scares them. The flush sound scares them. So go easy, right? If they are saying a no, if they are, saying it's too cold, or, because things disappear in the pot, they get scared. Respect that no. Don't try to push them, because otherwise you're creating fear in them. Do not punish them. This is not something where, if they don't learn it in 20 months, they won't learn it in 24 months. Give them that time, right? Especially babies who are prone to constipation. If you try to make them sit, it really pains. So they don't really like sitting on the pot. It really, really, really scares them. So for that, you need to increase, like I said, their comfort level, reassure them on what is happening and how the process is. Don't try to sort of, hover around them, or, keep reminding them. Be calm about accidents. These are going to happen. Teach them, why is it important to use it, how it is supporting and, overall helping their bodies as well, and how they can stay clean. As parents, we often forget communicating with them, and communication is the key for babies. The more you talk about it, the more they start to understand. And also start rewarding good behaviors. You could just simply have a sticker chart. If you've sort of seen the timings when they're using the restroom, you can start sort of giving them a reward, that okay, at this time, or just a tick mark, or just a star, because that keeps them motivated as well, right? These are milestones which we need to help them develop. These are not natural milestones like you're crawling and walking. So you need to, make sure that somewhere there, that little praise is there. If we can, give them too many reminders and lectures, we should also praise this whole good behavior, right? Other issues and solutions, if you see that your child had trained, but then has regressed, these are very, very common signs. Even if there's a small change of a bathroom, or if you're moving homes and there's a change, they may regress, they may just not want to use it. If we sort of try to reinforce on the independence, reinforce the fact that they need to keep sitting on the washroom, they just sort of don't like it, right? So keep it more natural, respect what they want to do, but at the same time, give them and find ways to reinforce the independence. So like I said, a lot of times, especially for girls, you'll notice that they don't like sitting on the pot. They don't want to sort of, just do anything at all. So give them the time, give them, like a bowl with water just to play, give them a toy which they can wash while they are sitting, because they just suddenly start fearing the pot, and that's the reason why we need to make sure that they get comfortable again to sit on it as well, right? Again, sometimes a lot of babies, they sort of use they use the pot for peeing, they don't use it for poo. It is again very common. It is because of the mess that happens. It is because of removing the diaper, or if they are constipated, or if the sound that comes when you poop, it really scares them, and I've seen that for babies. So be mindful, okay? Don't sort of force or push them too much. Talk to them about it, talk to them about what happens, and then you will see that they start understanding better, right? Again, very important, especially for older kids, have them involved in changing themselves, make visual references, talk to them about the process, establish a routine for them, offer lots of fluids and fiber rich foods, so that naturally the body can start developing signs and actually have this whole reminder in terms of when they need to pee and poo. Create a routine, make them comfortable. So you can blow bubbles, you can, like I said, a manicure or pedicure in a small tub. Also don't restrict them to using one bathroom. This is something that we usually do, of course, unless if you're not comfortable sharing it with the others in the family or in the house. It's a different situation. But be open to them using different washrooms, because otherwise what happens is, when you travel, they're not open to it. At least that way they get used to it, right? Again, a lot of times parents do ask is, if we are sort of traveling, or if we are going out in the evenings, then should we keep them in diapers or how? Don't do that. As much as possible, embrace the accidents and be okay with them, and rather, avoid the diapers, because otherwise then it confuses the child as well, right? So make sure that whatever you're doing, whatever you are following, it is consistent and it is something where you are able to follow it even when you're traveling outside. Sorry about the noise. Again, what are your main essentials? You need a good potty training seat, which is there. You need a step stool, and you need cloth nappies or panties, whichever is convenient depending upon your little one's age. Also remember, stressing about this whole thing is only going to hold up your child. It is only going to stress you out. uh, Take into consideration if they are ready or not. Focus on how they are learning and how they are adjusting, because they do need a lot of comfort. And like I said, for twins, remember that every child is an individual. What may work for one won't work for the other one. And also look at the developmental levels of each of the child individually, and then plan the training techniques, because it is not about just keeping it to them. It is about a partnership that we need to create and the comfort that we need to give them. So ensure that for every child, you give them that time and the understanding that they need to know before you actually get into this whole formal routine of being like, no, you have to do it on the pod. Go easy, go slow, but make sure that you are following it consistently. This is about it from my side. I am now going to be open to questions if you have any.